I'm Duncan Jones, I'm the director of Mute. You know, Mike and I wrote the original draft 16 years ago. And it was supposed to be my first film, and it's kind of dark, weird subject matter. I don't think it lends itself to the kinds of films that studios are making these days. And I think it was at a budget level where it was a little too high to be just a straightforward, you know, small indie film. And that kind of budget, that between kind of $20 and $40 million that studios used to have their own arms to deal with those kind of indie films, has kind of disappeared. And it really took someone to take their place, and Netflix and Amazon and Apple, those streaming sites that are sort of going for those films and making kind of more quirky, unusual, original films. You know, it kind of needed them to be around. Originally, when I first met Sam Rockwell, it was to be in this film, to be in Mute. And I brought him the script, and we talked about it, and he loved it, but wanted to play a different role. But when we decided to do Moon, after the enjoyment and success we had on that, I immediately went back to Mute, knowing that I wanted to do it as well and do it next, and started thinking about, okay, well, maybe there are elements of this story which would actually work better in a science fiction setting, and that's kind of, you know, that's where that change happened. So that was, you know, probably at least 10 years ago. I think just being able to play around with what the world is like, again, by pushing it into a science fiction setting, is not necessarily a technological thing, but I think just being able to imagine a Berlin in the future, which would be kind of a place which feels familiar, but at the same time I can change the rules a little bit as far as how the world functions and what the world is like. I think it lent itself to this story. I mean, I like the idea of hopefully sort of poking and prodding at different possibilities of what science fiction films can be. You know, there's a quote that Philip K. Dick had about his first experience of watching Blade Runner when it was made, and how it wasn't a science fiction film, it was a futurist film. And I think what my attempt was to make a film noir, you know, a much more recognizable of like a 70s thriller or something, than a science fiction film. It just happens to take place in a future setting, and almost treat the science fiction elements of it as the location of the film, rather than the reason for it being, reason for it existing as it does. And we shot half of our film, our interiors, in Studio Babelsberg, but our exteriors were locations around Berlin. So most of what you see is actually what Berlin looks like. So I think one of the reasons why so many films sort of reference or feel like they are you know, have to pay homage to Ridley Scott's vision is that most cities now kind of look like that. There's a lot of neon, there's a lot of big buildings, there's a lot of blending of history, especially in European cities, of historical buildings and then much more modern elements. You know, he was very prescient. He was extrapolating from what he saw back when he made that film, and he happened to be right about a lot of things. History doesn't clear away the old and then build something new. It builds on top of the cities that already exist.